morning. This is Martha Bonetta. I am co-hosting the John Fredericks Show this morning from our beautiful nation's capital, and I have the honor and privilege of having with me right now the Honorable Ken Cuccinelli. Good morning, Ken.
Morning. Good to see you guys on this side of the Potomac.
That's
of course,
right.
I'd rather see you on the other side of the Potomac, but
here
we are.
I want to make sure I have your title right. It's Acting Director of the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. That
is correct. Yes, it's a mouthful.
Ken, I just want to thank you so much. I've
one of those places acronyms is actually helpful.
What,
USCIS is just really
USCIS. You know, I've been to the border 4 times now, El Paso, McAllen, Yuma, and New Mexico, and I was so taken by that experience, and I just want to thank you so much. I want to thank you for doing everything you're doing to protect our borders, to fulfill, the President's America First agenda to keep us safe.
Well, and he's the first of either party to really be aggressive on this subject in our adult lifetimes, and I appreciate having a president who's really committed to not just talking about it, but doing something about it. So it's a real honor to be part of that team.
And yes, and I have to tell you that seeing what's happening at the border to keep us safe and protect us. When I was there the last time, they had found enough fentanyl to literally take out so many Americans, and it just broke my heart to hear that story. And I guess I'd love to have everybody hear from you. You know, what needs to be done now?
Well, just that very issue. Mark Morgan, who's the acting commissioner of Customs Border Protection, is working on that issue literally today as we speak internationally, and because it is so critical. The drug trade that comes over that border is part and parcel of the illegal immigration problem. The drug cartels on the southern side of the border use the flow of people to aid and mask their flow of drugs, weapons, and so forth. And there are lots of reasons we need to secure that border. Some of them relate directly to the illegal immigration. Some of them relate to these other security threats, like the drugs, the weapons, terrorists, etc., gang members, and being the worst and most common.
So what can, hardworking Americans do all across the country that love our country? They want to support a secure and safe border. Yeah. What can we do? What can we tell Americans to do?
You can beat the tar out of your congressional representatives who are doing almost nothing to fix this problem, while the president is juggling chainsaws and axes to try to impact the problem favorably. And we're having success, but long-term permanent resolution of this problem is going to require Congress. And with the exception of the Senate, Senator Graham made a significant run at fixing a lot of the asylum loopholes that are part of the problem here before they went on vacation for the summer. The other part of that coalition fell apart. But on the House side, all you see is if they see something we're doing they don't like, they hold a hearing. But not with any purpose of legislating. I mean, I haven't seen any legislation that they've meaningfully advanced that'll address any of the underlying problems. And some of these were pursuing policies that President Obama's administration pursued, like keeping families together, even in detention, and closing the trafficking loophole for children beyond Mexico. I mean, these are things the Trump administration and the Obama administration are both pursuing. Unfortunately, this issue's become a political club for the left. The good news for us in that front is we're defending not just sovereignty and the border and the country, but common sense. I mean, the American people are with this president on his policies. These are, 70-30 issues. I'll give you an example. We issued a regulation that was a high priority for the president to essentially implement a law to require self-sufficiency among legal immigrants. People coming to stay here with us long term have to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, won't be going on welfare and so forth. This is a core value of America, self-sufficiency, and it's been in our law since the 1800s, federal law. So it isn't new. And some of the very same people who voted for the underlying law, people like Senator Schumer and Steny Hoyer and so forth, they voted for the law that we're implementing in 1996. It was so uncontroversial it passed on a voice vote through the Senate. And now when we're actually implementing it, hue and cry is raised among their political base and on the left at this common sense policy that when you just explain it without all of the crazy rhetoric, average Americans
get it.
They not only do they get it, they're like, why weren't we already doing this?
Right.
That's
right.
So that's a lot of what this president is pushing forward.
Who are some of our champions in Congress? We're the first to take a club and remind them that they serve we the people. But who are some of our champions that are really, heralding the cause, that are really helping?
We know we're all from Virginia here, and the last really good bill with a good shot at passing was Bob Goodlatte's. He's not in the Congress anymore. Ben Klein occupies his seat very capably. But we want to get back to that quality of legislation. I think the president's team is putting something like that together that I think will be very attractive and very good policy, and frankly very hard to argue against. We're looking forward to helping with that and pushing that forward. But the people who are supporting that Goodlatte bill, you saw the Freedom Caucus, of course, no surprise there among our champions. We were glad to see Senator Graham trying to close these asylum loopholes just this summer. There's been a lot more attention to this on both houses, and a lot of the usual suspects, Senators Lee, Cruz, and so forth. Senator Cotton is very strong on this issue. Senator Perdue down in Georgia has also been a real leader in this area, and he, in particular, trying to handle one of the touchiest parts of solving the immigration puzzle, and that is how this all works in the agricultural arena, which is very challenging, frankly. We're also seeing a much more, I don't want to say universal, but a much broader acceptance of the utility of E-Verify in making sure all of our employment in this country is legal. Our agency handles E-Verify. We manage it. It has improved. It's as the lady who runs it would say, it's not your grandfather's E-Verify. It is much more accurate. It used to be the problem was false positives. Now the problem is we're catching so many people.
Right.
And that is the point, right? So now it's working too well. Now that's not a complaint I hear on Capitol Hill. Senator Romney put in a bill to make it permanent and required. Someone else recently put in a bill to do this as well in the Senate. So it's picking up momentum, something that we've, for instance, implemented in our grant program. So you're seeing it expand. Again, this is all with the push of the president, who is really the driving force in a way that we haven't had a president of either party drive in this area. So
Ken,
that's
walk us through, if you can, very quickly, the Mississippi raid that got a lot of fake news detraction, when basically you guys were just doing your job. Just walk us through how that works, and is that a model going forward?
So it is a model going forward, John, and that operation was fairly complex. I mean, there were 680 arrests at 7 sites in Mississippi involving 3 companies, and with investigations of the companies themselves and individuals at those companies ongoing. So, and interestingly, a couple interesting things out of that. A lot of the fake news you reference was right after, and I won't re-describe it. I don't want to give it the credit. But ICE, of those 680, 300 were sort of bonded out on a humanitarian basis and so forth, only caretaker of children, that kind of thing, but had been put in ICE's removal process at that point. And that, strangely enough, didn't make the news, didn't make the coverage. One of the 3 companies actually held a job fair afterwards, and a local TV station was doing interviews there. Lo and behold, didn't get much play. And all these people, local folks, who were just saying time after time, I could use the job. I'm so grateful to have it open and have this opportunity. So much for Americans won't do these jobs, right? And they were excited to have the opportunity to be legally employed in those jobs. And let's not forget, these companies were exploiting people who'd already been exploited to come up here. It is a terrible arrangement. Credit to ICE and HSI, running their investigation side, for putting together a sophisticated operation statewide that, like I said, is still ongoing. You can expect to hear more news out of there.
So what consequences were dealt out to the companies that were basically employing slave labor, right?
Those are ongoing, so I can't comment on substance. But, sure. John, the key there is they are ongoing. That is not done. They've not washed their hands of that. The part of what went on in these operations was the gathering of information to deal with the companies themselves. And that is part of what needs to happen in the enforcement side. And under this president, it's actually happening.
Ken, within the agency itself, and final question, within the agency itself that you're in command of as acting director, we've heard a lot of our Trump people have been put in different political positions and political appointees and have found great pushback within the civil servant bureaucrats within these agencies that resist the Trump agenda. You can call that the deep state. What have you experienced as acting director in your agency in regards to that?
So
Ken?
we have about 19,000 employees that I lead in this agency. It's very large. So to give you a sense of scale, that's about a sixth roughly of the size of the entire Virginia government.
Wow.
Everything, universities and everything. And I think we have a dozen political appointees with 19,000 employees. We have 88 offices across the country. We have over 20 offices internationally. Now we're shrinking that down to 7 here over the next year or so. But it is a management challenge. And, for those people who are the majority of employees at USCIS who implement what I consider to be civil service, which is sincerely implementing the law put before you. And I'm grateful to all of those people because, we're under the gun in terms of workload and pressure to do that, and they're doing a great job. Are there some people who leak? Yes. Are there people who really want to come and do their own agenda? Yes. But those people need to go run for office and get the law changed. I mean, I've been there 3.5 months. We've disciplined 27 people for leaks, and there are more in the pipeline for it. And I don't know how many other agencies have been that aggressive on that front. But, we are contending with those elements, and they're a minority, John, but they can cause all sorts of problems in an agency. And out of Virginia, something I didn't have to deal with is a union. We have one union that is filed amicus briefs in a couple of cases against us. Imagine that. And, it's incredible. And some of what they said, I haven't read their most recent brief, but in their first one was just outlandish. And, I guess there's fake news, there's fake briefs, too. So, but it's good to be with you guys.
Thank you so much. Friends, this
glad
is
you're on this issue.
Director Cuccinelli, thank you
Good to see you.
Ken Cuccinelli. Great to see you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Twitter, at USCIS Cuccinelli. The more people, the merrier. Come join us
At
on Twitter.
USCIS Cuccinelli.
Yep.
Great.
At
Thank you.
USCIS Cuccinelli. Well, Ken, we do know how to spell your name. Thank you, Ken Cuccinelli, for being with us.